Hi, welcome everyone. Welcome back to our show again. And today I have Michelle here. As usual, she will be answering all the questions that I have. And today I would like to talk about remote work. So, yesterday, Michelle shared with me an article that I found very shocking, which is Dell released an article saying that if you are 100% remote, you are not going to get promotion. So, Michelle, help me to understand what's going on with the remote work. Is it, are you like, it sounds like having a 100% remote job is going to, how to say, hinder your career growth.
I I think it's obviously true. Humans are political animals. So even in companies where they're not like Dell, that they have a specific policy that says, "Hey, we're never going to promote remote people." I think every company and every manager that looks at who are they going to promote, they're going to promote the person that they're most comfortable with, and humans will, by and large, be most comfortable with the people they know the best. And so when you're in a mixed environment where some people are working in the office and some people are working remote, the people who come into the office every day, or most days, and make their presence known, and really communicate their value, those are going to be the people who get promotions. And some companies are going to say, we're not going to promote people remote people at all anymore.
So, Michelle, are you saying that you 100% think that we should be all be back to the office? How about hybrid work? Like for me, being a hybrid environment works really well for me as a mom, especially. Like, and I feel like I could have the time to work when I'm at home, and when I go to the office, I'm intentionally meeting people. So I think hybrid work sort of provide a good flexibility too. So I would love to hear your thought on that.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, I don't think there's a one size fits all for everyone. I think some people really want to work from home. They thrive at home. They hate commutes. They can be very productive at their job, and they're willing to sacrifice some possibility of getting promoted, for that ability to work from home. So for those people, work from home 100% seems to be the right fit. Um, in terms of hybrid, I think hybrid works almost as well as every day. So, in some cases, it might work even better. So, because those days that you're working from home, you might be super productive, and you might get a lot of work done those days, and then that will show on the days that you're in the office, and just in your general productivity. So I think hybrid is a really good option. And again, it goes back to what are your individual preferences.
Got it.
Being a new mom, you might want to have more time when you have a little bit more flexibility throughout the day. You don't have that commute, and that gives you more time after work as well.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned about it really depends on what type are you and what's suitable for you. Yeah, like you also mentioned about like fresh grad, right? Let's talk about that a
Hmm.
little bit because the since the pandemic has started, right? There's fresh grad that not by choice, right? They are being, moving to the 100% remote work when that's beginning. And now you can, some companies you can go back to work or hybrid, but however I think I would say the first wave of students that get out fresh out of college, they definitely have some challenges when it comes to remote work, and I think that it also will hinder their career growth as well. So can you walk me through, Michelle, if you're a fresh grad, right, what are the things that you will be missing if the first job out of college is 100% work, remote work right away?
Sure. Well, let me say first and foremost, the most important thing is being good at your job. And you can be good at your job remote. You can be good at your job in the office. But for new college grads, they are at a specific, or anybody who's new to the workforce, they are at a specific disadvantage when they have a remote job, because this is the time that you develop your sense of how people work together, and how things get done in companies. And when your window into that is 30-minute Zoom calls a couple of times a day, and some interaction on Slack, you're not going to see that whole picture. It's also the time when you build your professional network, and your professional network is so critical to your career
Mm-hmm.
because it's the people who you will continually go back to for advice, for recommendations, and to build personal relationships with that network and develop that network. um, I think that's just absolutely critical. And then finally, mentors. Having mentors in your career is the most important thing, because it will give you it's like a supercharger. It just gives you so much more acceleration in terms of becoming really good at what it is that you want to do with your career. So I think those are the challenges
Yeah,
for new hires.
I see. But you know what, Michelle? Someone can challenge that. Hey, I have a remote work. I can still try to like Slack and Zoom and find my
Mhm.
mentor. I can still do that, right? But one thing is, I notice is that let's say if you continue to do it that way, right? Everything is on the screen or it's very transactional. Like there's no longer term effects, right? Let's say when there is a layoff happened, it's so easy for them to lay you off because everything
Right.
is transactional, right? You're not in that collaboration work environment. I've also liked the examples that you provided before about the Excel questions. Like it's like a task that being worked on. Can you tell our audience a little bit about what do you think like the remote environment like they are more like a task based instead of like a collaboration based?
Yeah, I think the remote work that is some jobs are really good to be remote. Imagine a computer programmer who they just sit and write code. They need to be uninterrupted. They're given a chunk of work to do. They go off and do it, and they submit that work. But a lot of what we do is highly collaborative, and when we reduce it to being transactional, like, okay, you do this, I do that, we lose that there is benefit from doing it together. And so I think that's a challenge, and I think that's why we're seeing companies are recognizing that, yeah, everybody individually is very productive because they're working from home and they're uninterrupted, but we're losing out on the benefit of collaboration.
Yeah, like
And
all these little missing moments, right? Let's say you are given an Excel task. Okay, you're supposed to do a VLOOKUP on this. You get it done. You think that you did a good job. You get it done, and that's it. Right? That's like a very transactional task-based task. You think you're doing good. However, if you're in the office, when you are in a collaborative environment, like while you're executing that task, you will have a lot of moments that you could collaborate with others, like network at the same time. It just has more benefits when it comes to the collaborations.
yeah, I agree. And I think it also, when you hit a stumbling block, it might take an hour or 2 hours to get past that stumbling block when you're remote, because now you have to be deliberate about setting up a meeting with someone to get you past that. Whereas in the office, there might be a number of people who you could ask who will get you past that stumbling block. And again, this is particularly important to people who are early in their career, because they're the ones that are more likely to encounter stumbling blocks. So
Yeah.
I think the office environment allows for fluidity of communication and collaboration that you just don't get when you have to schedule interactions through video chat.
Yeah. Speaking of fresh grad, I remember when I was early on in my career, when I first started my job or any of the new job that I have, my goal is, like you said, Michelle, do the job really well. So when I meet people, I was heavily asking them, "What do you do?" That's my
Mhm.
focus. But I was totally missing the human element. But I noticed that when I get to a bigger company where my coworkers they are more mature, instead of like rushing to tell them what do they do, they actually want to know you as a person and build that relationship first. And
Mhm.
later on I realized that wow, it makes things so much easier because we know each other as a person. I can ask you for a favor, I can ask you for help. And these thing I this differentiation is something that I did not realize until later in my career, like really network with people. So Michelle, also wanted to hear, like, aside from what we talked about, right? Like network, be really good in your job. What are the things that you would like to advise fresh grad on, or someone who's looking at remote job? What are the advice you would give to them?
Well, I think you have to look at the three things that we talked about. The ability to grow a professional network, the ability to find mentors, and that window into the business to understand how things get done there. Who are the go-to people? Who has this piece of data I need? All those things. Who signs expense reports, and just there's just so many things, and you have to be very planned about how you go about doing that. So devote time each week to building a relationship with your coworkers. When you're in the office, it's a lot easier because you bump into people here and there, and you have a minute here or there, and it kind of happens organically. When you're remote, you need to you need to force yourself to actually reach out to your coworkers and learn about who they are as a person, and what their goals are. And at the same time, they're going to learn about you, and that's going to help you. And I think that applies to all three of those areas. Deliberately look for mentors. Deliberately try to learn how the business works, um, and I think that will go a long way to bridging the gap that you for what you're losing out on from being in the office. And you don't have to devote a lot of time to this. 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, where you say, well, I'm going to meet somebody, or I'm going to try to have this interaction in some way that it helps me build a personal bond with that person. And that person, by the way, having those connections might mean that you don't get laid off. It might mean that you get a promotion. It might mean that you get a raise. It might mean that they're a reference for you down the road when you need a reference. So spend time building those things, and realize that that's your time that you're investing in your career long term.
I see. So Michelle, you're saying that not only like you have to be deliberately to plant those seeds along the way. And
Mm-hmm.
here's my question. There are so many people, like there's so many like coworkers, and also like one interaction isn't enough, right? The friendship, the trust been built by many, many interactions. How would you go about that when you have like so many people you could potentially talk to?
I would start with those who are closest to me, organizationally, right? So who is it? Who is it that is closest to me in my group, that I work with more, and through those people, try to meet others in other organizations within your company, and learn who what all the connections are. And as you learn those connections, you can broaden your own personal connections. I think also, as you talk to someone, you either click with them or you don't, and it doesn't matter if you're talking with them next to their desk while you're in the office, or if you're doing it remotely. You can kind of tell, I kind of click with this person, or I kind of don't click with this person, and see where that leads you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, totally. So, how about this, Michelle? Like, let's say you have exhausted your list. So, you've been working there for like 1 or 2 years, right? Like, your team, like, if, even 80 of them, you know all of them, right? At this point, what can that person do beyond than that?
Well, I think if you've been working there for a couple of years, you need to reach outside of your group. You need to find out what are the groups that our group works with, and who are those people. And here's an idea. You could schedule a lunch with someone, and that lunch could be in person if they're near to you. You could meet up somewhere, or the lunch could be a virtual lunch where you sit and talk about Start by talking about your job or whatever, and then expand and learn a little bit about their family and what they like to do on their downtime, and they'll learn a little bit about that from you about yourself. I think those are the kinds of things that you need to do, and again, you have to be deliberate about it when you're remote. All these things, like I said, happen organically. When you're in the office, three people are going to the office and they say, "Hey, Ashley, we're going to," or three people are going to lunch. They say, "Hey, Ashley, you want to join us for lunch?" You say, "Yeah, definitely." So now you have to say, "Hey, Ashley, I'd really like to have lunch together sometime. Do you have time? We can either meet up somewhere or we can just do it online."
Yeah.
And that's just a challenge. That's part of the compromise of working at home. It can be overcome. It can be largely mitigated. You just have to think about it and make that investment of time. And I would say do it every day. Every day, try to have like a 3 minutes worth of conversation with someone that is beyond what you're doing at work to build that personal bond.
Wow, really? Sometimes like when you have like work that you want to try to get through, your main focus and everything is on, okay, let's
Hmm.
get all the stuff done, right? But in reality, we never get it done. So I think I really like the idea that you have, it's like 100% devote to your job, but put 10% of your time for networking. Be intentional about building the relationship in order to excel in this remote environment. Uh, all right. Well, today I learned a lot from you, Michelle, as usual. I hope whoever is watching, you also learned something from today's as well. If you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to leave the comment. If you have any topics that you would like us to cover, you would like me to ask Michelle and learn from her lots of years of experience in the workforce, feel free to put that in the comment section below. See you next time. Thank you, Michelle.
Bye bye.